good as mine. And just like me, he was wasting time turning every stone to see what he could find, okay? He was filling tank and he asked for money. I lied and said I didn't have any. My conscience took over and gave him a handful of change.
Don't do a thing.
Don't do a thing.
Stay right there. You'll lie there.
You'll lie there.
You don't seem to care.
Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And this is the Zach Brown Band, and we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I just think that song is so much fun.
It is fun, and it's Friday!
Whoop, whoop.
I am so excited for Fridays, Erin. I've only got a few more weeks of Fridays left, and then it's summertime!
So you are done, like, at the end of this month.
Yeah, 3 more weeks.
3 more weeks. Oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
And it's really like 2 weeks of instruction, and then that last week is all the end-of-the-year activities and the promotion ceremony and all that, and minimum days and stuff. So, yes. It's exciting.
That is exciting. Sorry, I have all these beads on the sleeve of my sweater, and I love this sweater, but it like makes that sound of like a cat on a plastic table, that kind of sound. Yeah, so I had to roll up my sleeves.
The listeners are going to get to listen to your beads as they smash up against the table every time you reach for something on the desk there?
Yeah, well, I just rolled up my sleeves, so
okay. No.
So, what kind of fun? You have an 8th grade dance today.
We do, and it's funny. I was talking to someone yesterday about that, and they were like, "Oh, 8th grade was so horrible." And I remember going to those dances and feeling so awkward, and
I think that was me.
Well, you said that, but I also was talking to someone else too, and said the same exact thing. And I think everyone has those memories, that anxiety, right, of the dance.
Well, in 8th grade, everything's awkward.
Yes.
The kids who peaked in 8th grade didn't do so well it didn't do so well in life.
Yeah.
I have to tell you. But for the rest of us, 8th grade, I mean, all of middle school is just an awkward time. You're in a body that doesn't feel like it's your own, and your hormones are all over the place, and your judgment you think you know what's going on, but your judgment is just not there, and so you keep messing up on things, and it's just middle school is tough.
It is rough. I have to say though that this is my favorite dance of all the dances to chaperone because it's an evening dance. Only the kids who qualify get to go to this one. So you have to have a certain GPA. You have to have, no discipline problems and all this. And the kids get all dolled up. And it's really, for me, that's the thing. When you see these young men show up in suits and the girls show up dressed so nicely and their hair done, and it really is just sort of the kids who really have earned it, So
yes.
it's got a very different feeling tone. And then I have to just give a mad shout out to the ASB director at my school, Anna Centeno, who does an amazing job with this dance. And this year, I don't know how she's done it because she's been out on maternity leave, but I know she's been coming back to make sure this is good for the kids because she just cares so much about this. But this dance, the decorations are spectacular. They have usually a food table that is just loaded with amazing stuff, cakes and candies and all kinds of cool things. And the kids it's just wow. You don't even want to touch it. It looks so beautiful. And the kids have a great time. And so just to be a part of that, to have that memory with them, it's special. It's
special.
And I hope that the kids look back and remember it with fondness and know that their teachers and their classmates cared enough to really make something special for them at the end of their 8th grade year. And
then it's on to high school.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Oh, and the yearbook came in yesterday too.
Oh.
Which, by the way, I haven't told you yet, but I'm going to buy one.
Don't you usually buy one?
I don't buy one every year, but this is the last yearbook produced by our good friend Miss Iloja.
Adiola Iloja?
Yeah, she's a phenomenal teacher, and outside of her teaching job, she's an artist. She's just an amazing person. But she's been the yearbook coordinator for 15 years, and she's retiring this year.
Wow.
And so next year we'll have a brand new person, don't know who it's going to be, doing the yearbook. And, so I think this is a special one. This is a special yearbook for Adiola, and I want to make sure I get one and get her to sign it and have that in my collection.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So, speaking of parties, did you know that there is a worldwide helium shortage?
I did not know that, and I guess I've never really thought about where you get helium from. I always just guess maybe you produce it in a factory, you like mix some chemicals to make helium, but I guess not. It's a base chemical. So we're running out of helium?
So, amid a global helium shortage, Party City announced Thursday it will shutter 45 stores in 2019. So this year. The New Jersey-based Party Supplies Company did not release the list of affected stores, but they are indeed closing stores. There are 870 Party City stores in the U.S. and Canada, and the closures represent about 5% of locations. Local news outlets have so far reported closings in California, Illinois, Connecticut, and Washington. Party City CEO James Harrison said in a statement Thursday, the company typically closes 10 to 15 stores each year. This year, after careful consideration and evaluation of our store fleet, we've made the decision to close more stores than usual in order to help optimize our market level performance. This year has been a tough one for retailers, with more store closings already announced than all of 2018. Based on figures from global marketing research firm Coresight Research, bankruptcy filings and company earnings reports, more than 6,500 have announced that they will close locations. This is in the retail sector in general. Party City said it's working to secure new helium sources, and a contract which is subject to final approval would provide stores with helium beginning this summer and continuing for several years. We believe that this new source should substantially eliminate the shortfall we are experiencing at current allocation rates and improve our ability to return to a normal level of latex and metallic balloon sales. So who knew? I'm baffled by this global helium shortage.
Yeah, right. And apparently, and I went to the article about the global helium shortage. Apparently, it's going to create a whole bunch of other problems because a shortage and disruption would quench our magnets, so it'd be without instruments. So apparently, you need helium to make magnets and such. I didn't realize. I mean, wow, Aaron, what's happening to the helium?
Yeah,
Will I be able to talk in a high-pitched voice anymore? I don't know.
Well, only if you do that.
I know. Which is not even as cool as the actual helium voice, because that's a cool voice.
Yeah, I'm just, it's just, I don't know what to say.
Is somebody hoarding the helium? Are we going to find out
How do you hoard helium? Like there's
know.
some guy with, tons of tanks in his bedroom or in his basement? How do you hoard helium?
I don't know. It's that guy from the movie Up, and he's just got all these balloons somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's scary.
So without helium, doctors will not be able to give patients non-invasive life-saving MRI scans that detect damage to organs and tissue. That's because that MRI, of course, is magnetic. The gas is in short supply and the price has gone up. That it's non-toxic, non-flammable, and used in several industries because it's the element with the lowest boiling point, about minus 452 degrees, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Helium is also used in space flight to pressurize fuel tanks of liquid-fueled rockets, in satellite instruments, in aerospace for supersonic wind tunnels, and even combined with oxygen to create nitrogen-free atmospheres for deep-sea divers. The big reason for the shortage is that about 75% of all the helium comes from just three places: Ras Laffan Industrial City in Qatar, ExxonMobil in Wyoming, and the National Helium Reserve in Texas. In Texas, the reserves are being depleted, while at the same time, overall demand for gas has been growing. Party planning parents are going to great lengths to find stores selling helium. They're driving the multiple places where helium balloons were once plentiful: party stores, grocery stores, and dollar stores, with no luck. And that's why you've seen a lot more balloons on those just taped to like straws, those hard plastic straws, because the balloons themselves won't float, which is just, under the heading. Well, so no, the Party City, this article goes on to say that Party City is closing stores in part because of this helium shortage. I'm just, who knew? So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We will be right back.
It's time to say see you later, alligator, to embarrassing and troublesome issues with your skin, nails, and hair with all-natural Cayman alligator oil. Cayman oil is locally made, right in Louisiana, where people have been using alligator oil for centuries to treat all kinds of ailments. A drop a day of Cayman oil can help you say see you later, alligator, to athlete's foot, nail fungus, acne, eczema, rashes, dry skin, cuts, infections, MRSA, scars, burns, sunburns, and even ingrown hair and dandruff. If you or someone you know is tired of suffering with any of these skin, nail, and hair troubles, you need to visit mycayman.com to learn more about 100% natural, non-toxic, hypoallergenic Cayman oil and get a bottle today. Say see you later, alligator, with Cayman alligator oil at mycayman.com. That's mycayman.com. mycayman.com.
Why are you listening to this radio station? Why, when you can host your own radio show? You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit. Why are you listening to this radio station? Why, when you can host your own radio show? You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit.
The Inland Empire's radio home for the Dave Ramsey Show.
If you want to mess around with the Bitcoin thing and you're in that world a little bit, that's fine. But don't put your freaking life savings in it, doofus.
KCAAradio.com.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California. We are KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we're on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Tobin, you pick the next one.
Oh, goody, goody, goody. How about the Walmart stores, Erin?
Yeah, you know, the Washington Post has an article that frankly annoyed me.
Why?
Because they talk about Walmart store managers making an average $175,000 a year as if that's a bad thing, as if they don't in many communities, Walmart stores, Walmart's the largest employer.
Yeah.
And, the amount of, each one of those Walmart stores is a significant profit center. And so the store manager is completely responsible for everything that store generates and does. And so it is a really tough job to do that. I mean, those store managers work really hard. I don't have a problem with them being paid well. And so what they do is this article goes through and talks about how the average, frontline worker makes about $14.50 an hour in Walmart, which is still better than a minimum wage. And they talk to this woman who's been making, essentially their bottom wage at Walmart, for 15 years, and as if she's a victim. And it's like, well, no, she's not. If she wanted something more, Walmart's a big company. I'm sure if she worked hard, she could have moved up, or I don't know, gotten herself an education or done something.
Yeah.
I mean, why is she a victim?
Yeah,
she's got a job.
So I couldn't get the Washington Post version to open, so I opened another version of the same story from a different site, and they're comparing the Walmart manager to other top-paying jobs, like for instance a dentist, and they're basically saying, well, these dentists who had to go to school and do all this stuff.
Walmart managers had to go to school. You think that they just, combed the high schools and started hiring people?
Hey, you kid, let me give you $175,000 to run this big store here. Come on over.
So they either did it, put it with sweat equity, or they went to school and studied business or whatever to become a store manager. It's not an easy job, folks.
Yeah,
and it's none of our damn business anyway.
Well, and Walmart stores are kind of like cities. I mean, when you think about everything that's going on at Walmart, they probably got a couple hundred employees in that store at any given time, right? I mean, you got all those people in the different departments stocking shelves, doing stuff. You got the cashiers running the big lines. You got people in the back in the storerooms moving stuff around.
Yes, and somebody has to order all of that stuff. Somebody has to place all of that stuff. The way that a Walmart store is laid out is not an accident. All of that is worked out. Every bit of shelf space in that store is fought over by vendors. So all of that has to be coordinated. All of the HR, all of the management of absolutely everything. Some of these stores bring in $100 million a year.
Yeah.
And so you're quibbling because you're going to pay a store manager $175,000. And I hate this idea that they go to the guy making the lowest wage in a store, or even that same tier, and say, "Aren't you poor victim? Aren't you so sad because you only make such and such?" And well, that person just shows up, does what they're told, and leaves. There's no skin in the game in the same way that there is for the higher level employee.
So you and I both used to work in retail, and we worked for a corporation that had a women's clothing store and a men's clothing store. You worked for the women's clothing store. I worked for the men's clothing store.
Yes.
And when we got into our management positions, part of our contract had we signed said that we would not disclose or talk about how much we made. Do you remember that?
I do.
And I always thought that was kind of an interesting thing, right? Because people want to know how much other people are making. And because we were married, obviously I got to know what you were making, you got to know what I was making. And I made more than you on the men's side, even though the women's side was a bigger profit center for them.
Yes.
And we talked about this gender gap, right? We had this discussion. And of course, most people wouldn't be able to have that conversation. But because we were married, obviously we saw what each other got. And then, like a lot of folks, we broke the rule, right? We did have little low-key conversations with the people we worked with to find out.
I think everybody broke the rule.
I agree. But, especially when you go in to negotiate your raises and stuff, you want to know, who's making more than you and what's a reasonable amount to ask for, right, when you go in for a raise. And so this was why people talk. But typically I wasn't having that conversation with my part-time sales associates, I wasn't going to them and saying, "Oh, I'm making $34,000 a year,"
woo,
which was that was like right out of college, like, "Ooh, I'm so rich! Oh my God!" But it really was nothing.
So back to this issue of Walmart. First of all, they're a private company. It's none of our business what they earn. Yeah. It's really not. And the purpose of this article is to say many employees are still under the poverty line, and it's actually in the headline.
Yeah.
And aren't these we're and this idea that the government is subsidizing Walmart employees? No, the government is not subsidizing Walmart. It's really not. With because some of these people get welfare benefits while they're working. It's an entry-level job, right? And so if you start getting rid of entry-level jobs, or you jack up the price or the cost of an entry-level job, you can see what happens. Go look at Europe. Their youth unemployment rate in some areas of Europe is almost 50%.
Then you really are subsidizing those folks, because you're subsidizing them a lot more heavily because they're not working at all.
So let the market do what the market does. Now, should big corporations get these big tax breaks and cutouts and all? No, they shouldn't. The government should not be picking favorites one way or the other. But what Walmart decides to pay their own store managers is none of our business.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, shop at Target.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
And here's what happens in the industry, right? So if you're working at Walmart and they're not paying you what you think is a fair wage, you do go to Target or Mervyn's or whoever.
Mervyn's?
Mervyn's not around anymore. I'm sorry.
Mervyn's.
I just threw that name out.
Mervyn's. Okay. For the young people who go, what? Mervyn's was a really great store that went out of business 30 years ago.
Thank you, Aaron. Dating me like that. Oh my God, I'm so
20
old.
years ago. 20 years
I'm
ago.
old. Decrepit. My memory's going.
Gimme.
Yeah, no, but that's what the market does, right? I mean, if you don't like the pay you're getting in one place, you go somewhere else, and that's what happens. And so they have to offer a certain level of pay to be competitive to keep people in those positions.
The thing that bothers me is that, and I got into this discussion with this 60s throwback guy who was really very much a Marxist and still very much living in the 60s, even though the man is in his late 70s. It just made me laugh, where he was telling me about these CEOs that earn these millions of dollars. And I looked at him and I said, well, I don't have a problem with that. He was horrified. There's nothing morally wrong with paying your people a good salary, a good wage.
Yeah.
And that's really between the CEO, if you're talking about the CEO, and the shareholders. If you're talking about store managers, it's what they all negotiate. It's what they agree. Like, you trade your labor for a certain price. That's what they agree on. I don't have a problem with that. And the best way to combat that, if that's something you do have a problem with, is to shop somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. If you don't like it, shop somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of our system.
Well, where I do have a problem with the high pay, though, is when we're talking about government jobs.
Well, that's a different animal.
That are paid for with our taxes.
Yes.
And we see this wage inflation going on over there, where they're constantly making more and more and more, and we're not seeing any improvement in services or
But that's different from that's completely different from a private company
in a market-based system. I know,
right? That's completely different.
I know,
especially since and you're a public employees union member and an active, engaged union member.
Yeah.
And who's not at the table, who's missing at the table in those labor negotiations is the person who's footing the bill.
Yeah.
There's no representation of the people there.
No,
there's really not.
Because often management, that with a wink and a nod, agrees with labor because they get whatever labor gets. So if labor gets a raise, management gets a raise.
Well, and the school board gets the labor unions are the ones that are the biggest contributors to local, municipal, and school board elections.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to do cost containment when you have that system in place.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Yeah.
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
California headline news: the rise of gas prices here and across the country may finally be slowing down.
In many areas across the country, we are on the cusp of hitting a peak price, if not already. California is actually seeing prices now begin to moderate.
Patrick DeHaan with GasBuddy.com. Gas prices down a penny in the state here the past week at $4.08 a gallon, which is still more than $1.20 higher than the national average. 2 vans being used by the University of Hawaii water polo team have been broken into in Palo Alto, where the team was preparing for the NCAA Women's Water Polo Championship. The thieves took a lot.
All their equipment, passports for the international players, the coaches' computers, the players' computers, their media persons' cameras, everything.
Allegra Delala, the mother of the team's goalie, saying the thieves also made off with school supplies the student-athletes were using to study for final exams. More moisture in Southern California today, mid-70s in the Bay Area, upper 80s today in Sacramento. Jeff Scott, California News.
Another tip from First 5 California. The more words a baby hears, the more it boosts language skills. Keep up those chats, even if it sometimes feels like you're talking to yourself. Trust us, your baby is listening and learning. More at first5california.com.
They say that if you want to know a person, you should walk a mile in their shoes. Same thing goes for tires. Except Firestone knows it's not just 1 mile, it's many. With the industry-leading 90-day buy and try guarantee, you can test drive our tires for 90 days. Then if you're not fully satisfied with them, we'll refund or replace them for you. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Conditions apply. See FirestoneTire.com for details.
The California Motorcyclist Safety Program is available to teach you life-saving skills and improve your riding techniques. To learn more and sign up, visit CaliforniaMotorcyclist.com or call 1-877-RIDE-411.
It's time to take a look at our roadways. I'm Erin Brinker. In Corona, on the 91 westbound before 6th Street, an injury crash is blocking the left lane. Stop-and-go traffic is backed up from the 15. In Corona, on the 71 southbound before the 91, a wreck remains along the right shoulder. Slow traffic is backed up from Butterfield Ranch Road. The 91 west is slow from Lincoln to Green River Road. It's wet out there, so drive carefully and allow yourself a little extra time. This has been your traffic report. Drive carefully, everyone. I'm Erin Brinker, and this is KCAA.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Lori. Mostly showers for this morning with some afternoon clearing and a high near 70. Overnight, chance of showers and mostly cloudy. Your overnight low in the mid-50s. Saturday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. And then we're looking for mostly cloudy with your high in the low 70s. I'm Lori, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM, Riverside 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463.
KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So, Chris Hughes, who apparently was Mark Zuckerberg's roommate at Harvard, is saying it's time to break up Facebook.
I disagree.
I disagree wholeheartedly. If you don't like Facebook, get off of Facebook.
Yeah, find another app that you like and go there and do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go to LinkedIn.
Here's why I don't think it should be broken up. I don't want to have to go to 3 or 4 different apps looking for different groups or sets of friends. You know what I mean? I like that there's essentially a one place where I can go for everybody and everything, you know. And I say that, but I have a few friends that aren't on Facebook that are maybe on like LinkedIn or whatever. But, you know, the majority of the stuff I do is on Facebook, and I like the convenience of it. You know, I don't think that's a problem.
I think that that people are freaking out about, there have been some privacy issues, and Todd has talked about this a lot on the show. He really dislikes Facebook and feels that Facebook has wrongly used your data. But having said that, Todd's got Amazon Echoes all over the house.
I know, right?
And so, I mean, I don't believe that Facebook is any more or less virtuous than any of the rest of the tech companies. If you're not paying for the service, you are the product that's being marketed.
Yeah.
And so you just have to know that that people are that your privacy may be at risk. You know. So
what's fascinating to me about all of this is that how closely we have come, our society has come to resembling what we read about when we were kids in the book 1984. right? Except that instead of it being the government that's spying on you, it's companies.
It's companies. Bless you, Tobin. He just sneezed.
Pardon me.
And we're doing it willingly. I mean, it's not like it's being imposed. I mean, when and it's been a long time since I read 1984, but it was this heavy Soviet style feel of, oppressive surveillance, kind of brings to mind, it's not in Soviet, but it was East German, which is part of the Soviet bloc, the Stasi mentality of people are spying on you. And it's not like that now. I mean, we certainly, maybe some people have that opinion, but it's not what I feel. I don't feel like that, that people are going to be turning me in for something, at least at this point.
But the willingness of people to sort of give up their privacy to have access to all of these services, right? Of the social media, the convenience of having, one of your devices at home answer a question. My most common question to that Amazon device is, what's the weather like today?
Yeah.
Or I use it as a music player. I walk in the house and I'll say, hey, play music by.
Or I don't want to say her name, although I've already said it once. Hey, blankety blank, tell me a limerick.
Yeah, I do like jokes and things, so I'll have the device joke around with me a little bit.
But I like GPS. I like, I use Google Maps all the time, even if I know where I'm going, because traffic is hairy and I want to get the best route there.
Yeah.
And so, I like having the GPS, having the tracker on my watch. I like, there are things that we like, knowing and having. And so, at some point, I suppose you could look at it and say, well, then, if the government turns bad, it actually becomes fascist, they'll know what you do every moment of every day. It's like, well, that's true. But, there are computers in your car. There's computers in everything. There are computers in your dishwasher, in your in your refrigerator. They, you know what I mean? It's kind of unavoidable unless you live completely off the grid.
Yeah. And I know people who are making that choice, right? They're headed in that direction to get off the grid. But I think it's increasingly a harder and harder choice to make because, as you said, the computers are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that the Facebook problem is going to weed itself out because, younger people use other platforms. Now, they're using Instagram at the moment, which is owned by Facebook.
Yeah.
But then the next group, because this group is going to age too, and then the next group will pick something else.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't think Facebook needs to be broken up. I think it does need to decide, is it a platform or is it a publisher? And if it's got editorial control, which it seems to be trying to exert, and certainly people are saying that it should. If it's got editorial control, then it changes the nature of Facebook tremendously.
Yeah.
It also changes the nature of their liability over what's said on Facebook.
So it's interesting. I'm designated by Facebook as sort of an Uber user because I have a whole bunch of groups that I created and manage that are fairly large. And I got a message from them the other day informing me that they're adding a new feature, a new function for people like me to help me manage my groups. And so if Facebook deletes something from one of my groups, if they find some content that they think is objectionable, I will now have the ability to look at what they deleted and have some conversation with them about whether that actually meets the terms of service and guidelines and whatnot. And in the past, I would never know. It would be gone. And
right.
A user might come to me in my group and say, what happened to my post? And oftentimes I was left sort of...
You're like, what post?
Yeah. or having a conversation, kind of drawn out conversation with my other administrators for that page saying, did you remove it? Did you, who removed it and why? And oftentimes we'd all kind of look at each other. It wasn't me.
Well, I honestly think that, and this is really a question of law and the validity of the terms of service. I think that Facebook and all the platforms, frankly, need to be more transparent about what's allowed and what's not.
Yeah.
So you're seeing people, I think last week or the week before, there were some people that were banned from Facebook or kicked off of Facebook. So Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars, Louis Farrakhan, and there was another one there, and I don't remember who it was. And some of those people, it was Milo Yiannopoulos.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those people are, Milo apparently, I've never been a fan. He's the guy who wants to yell fire in a crowded room just to watch people run. fun.
Yeah.
And so he likes to set fire to watch it burn, metaphorically. And so I don't have a problem with him being booted. Alex Jones is an inflammatory guy. I don't know that Paul Joseph Watson deserved to be booted. I mean, did he get booted because he's part of InfoWars? You may not like what he has to say, but there's no calls to violence or anything crazy like that. Yeah, he works for InfoWars, but I don't think he's any more or less inflammatory than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so Louis Farrakhan is a hate-filled man. But I don't know what are I think that what they owe the user and what they owe the public is our transparent rules.
A bright line that says if you do this gets you booted.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Versus we just booted a bunch of people that we think are inflammatory. Because who knows, next week they may decide that I'm that person. And then all of a sudden I'm gone. I'm like, well, what happened?
What'd I do? Yeah, and I've actually had things like I shared lots of articles from various different sources.
Yeah.
And I had one probably 4 months ago that was removed. It was from the Daily Wire, and it said it violated the terms of service, but it had no explanation, and I had no way of getting an answer. Okay, I don't mind following the rules. What rule did I violate here? So I won't do it again. And if it's supposed to say, well, you can't share from the Daily Wire, well, why the heck not?
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to bounce Vox too? Because that's, I put Vox and Daily Wire kind of on the same level on different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I've shared from both sides, although I've shared a lot less from Vox lately because I just don't find the quality is there anymore the way I used to. But I used to share a lot more. Used to listen to their podcast a lot too. So, again, I think they need transparent rules. I don't know that they need to be broken up.
Yeah. Well, as an administrator on numerous Facebook groups, I'm always amazed at the ones that I have to make the decision on. Because oftentimes you'll get people in a group that will report somebody else.
Yeah.
And some of them are easy. Like, most of the pages I have, you're not allowed to advertise. So someone advertises, someone reports it, and I just get rid of it. That's easy. But a lot of times, it's really just that two people had a disagreement, right? And I don't like what that person's saying, and so I'm now reporting them. And so then I have to make a value judgment about whether they crossed a line. And usually it comes down to, did they attack someone personally? If they're calling someone a name or using vulgar language, then I usually will block it and get rid of it. But if they haven't, if they're just making a point that you don't like,
yeah, that's not good enough.
Suck it up, Buttercup. I'm not getting rid of that.
Yeah.
This is America, and so I try not to get rid of too much stuff, right? I mean, I don't want to be a censor, I want to keep the page clean. That's why I want to get rid of the advertising and that kind of stuff, so the groups stay focused on what they're meant to be focused on. But, I really don't want to be the guy who has to referee everyone's discussion. You know what I mean?
I don't want to be your mommy. Be a grown-up.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because I have a lot of groups as well, and I got that same email. Or notice from Facebook, there was one person who would get on the page and start calling people names and was very profane, and I asked him to please stop, and his response was, "Well, adults use this language. This is adult language." I'm like, "No, middle school students use that language and think they're cool. Adults know how to control themselves.
Yeah,
knock it off."
Yeah, no, real adults have a better vocabulary than that. You can say the same thing without being quite so, acerbic.
Vulgar. Yes. So I don't know. I don't know that I don't like this attitude that the government can fix every problem in the humanity, that humanity can offer. I don't think that this requires a government fix. I do think that Facebook is going to find itself in court. Somebody is going to sue them to say, okay, you need to define yourself. Are you a platform? And if you're a platform, why did you kick me off? And if you have editorial control, then you're responsible for a whole lot of stuff that ends up on your site.
Yeah, the thing that I hope Zuckerberg gets his head around, because I've heard him say that, oh yes, we do need to be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Controlled. We need the government. We need government regulation, right? To help us to know better how to deal with certain issues. But I hope he understands that the people in the government really don't know his business. And if they start regulating you, if the government really gets deep into Facebook's business, it isn't going to be good for Facebook.
No, it's not.
The people who do the regulating really don't understand what Facebook is. Hell, the people who are making laws about our schools don't really understand what's happening in our schools.
It's true.
And they're making things harder and worse for us because they're listening to extreme voices that are telling them, this is a problem, this is a problem.
Or academics who have never actually been in a classroom or haven't been in a classroom. When I say a classroom, I mean a K through 12 classroom. They haven't been in a classroom in decades.
So, you're much better off if you can solve your own problems and figure out better ways to deal with those things than trying to hand it off to the government to solve it for you, in my humble opinion. Because once the government gets involved, you may find yourself in a very, very different world very quickly.
There's got to be a strategy, because I can't imagine any for-profit business saying to the government, regulate us, unless it's going to let them off the hook somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if they're behaving in a certain way and they can throw their hands up and say, and maybe it's because they're going to get in trouble in other countries, I don't know. Well, we're doing it this way because the American government requires it. Then you can't come at us, Europe, or you can't come at us, Australia or Asia, or China, whatever, because we're doing it the way the American government tells us to. I mean, because they're working on many, many different fronts. There's I think there's 1 billion people on Facebook.
And honestly, I think that's where you might find the sort of the breaking up of Facebook as different countries kind of legislate. So you end up with Facebook China version, Facebook Europe version, Facebook Australia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As each country, each continent sort of comes up with their norms and their idea. And yes, they can interface with each other, but once you cross over those sort of digital lines of, now I'm talking to someone in South America, you may find something that's perfectly okay to say here suddenly being not allowed there.
Different countries have different regulations. Europe, all of Europe, they don't have our First Amendment. No. So they have hate speech laws. Well, Canada too. Yeah. So there are things that are protected under our First Amendment that would get you in trouble in Canada or in Europe. And so I think that maybe that's part of the issue. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we should break them up here in the United States. Maybe it'll happen the way that you say. I don't know. Remains to be seen. Interesting. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
With 60 years of fascinating facts, this is The Man from Yesterday. From this time in 1967, CBS TV this Sunday night on the Smothers Brothers, Jonathan Winters, Nancy Wilson, and the brand new band called the Jefferson Airplane. Nobody's really heard of them.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love.
From this time in 1964, this Thursday night on ABC TV, My Three Sons, Tramp the Family Dog is discovered by a movie talent scout, and Bub, Robbie, and Chip, Bub played by William Frawley, and they try to get into the act. From this time in 1976, David Brenner is back on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, announcing that he has a new sitcom on NBC TV called Snips, where David Brenner plays a hairdresser.
But I always did. I always dressed funny as a kid. You know who dresses funny to me? Hunters. Did you ever see a hunter? They stand in the woods wearing all this camouflage clothing. They really think the animals can't see them.
This is The Man from Yesterday, also on Facebook.
A modern 21st century gold rush is happening in America, and you can be a part of it. Today, new mining technology and equipment is allowing miners and weekend prospectors to extract commercial amounts of gold from old mine tailings and surface waste that old-time prospectors missed over 100 years ago. With gold prices soaring past $40,000 a kilo, many old gold mines are reopening. Some of these mines are producing more than an ounce of gold per ton of ore, and the supply of old mine tailings and surface waste ore is virtually unlimited. New mining technology combined with relaxed investment laws are allowing more people to own a stake in gold mines and to become stockholders in promising new mining companies. MW Mining and Inspections Incorporated is one of these new companies. In 2018, the company reopened the first of several U.S. mines with gold production exceeding 1/2 troy ounce per ton, plus high recoverable amounts of silver, platinum, rare earth, and other precious metals. MW Mining is unique because it plans to pay stockholders dividends from its gross sales, not from net income, and therefore MW Mining will absorb all operating expenses internally. For more information on the MW Mining stock opportunity, go to mwminingandinspections.com or call or text 208-451-4558. The common stock of MW Mining is offered through a private placement memorandum pursuant to an exemption from registration under Rule 504 of Regulation D promulgated under the Securities Act of 1933. Gold mining is a high-risk business. All investing in securities involves risk. Purchasing this stock may result in the total loss of your investment.
I always hear from our clients who hired another firm that they wish they'd hired DNA Financial first. Don't have regrets about your IRS tax case. Just hire the best in the first place.
One owed $150,000 to the IRS and had spent thousands on another firm. We stopped the levies, negotiated a payment plan, and had their penalties forgiven.
And while every case is different, we guarantee that we'll find your perfect resolution and get it done right.
For a free consultation, call us at 866-201-0156. That's 866-201-0156. Then you can say, DNA did right by me.
Here at the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins, tune in Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. I'll show you how you can retire in 5 years or less, right here on KCAA, 1050 a.m., 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM.
This is KCAA.
That's great, it starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane, listen to yourself, churn world serves its own needs, dummy serve your own needs, beat it up an ox, speak, grunt, no strength, the ladder starts to clatter with fear, fight down, high wire, and a fire representative.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we're on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. And it's an interesting story in the Daily Wire. Mike Pence promises to challenge the nationwide injunctions. And he says, so this is from Josh Hammer at the Daily Wire. He said, good, they're unconstitutional. In a speech yesterday to a Federalist Society group, Vice President Mike Pence vowed that the Trump administration would soon challenge the anti-Republican, anti-constitutional travesty of district court judges issuing, quote, nationwide injunctions, unquote, that allow a lone lower court to seemingly halt an entire federal government program. Pence said, and this is a quote from the vice president, the Supreme Court of the United States must clarify that district judges can decide no more than the cases before them, and that it's imperative that we restore the historic tradition that district judges do not set policy for the whole nation. In the days ahead, our administration will seek opportunities to put this very question before the Supreme Court to ensure that decisions affecting every American are made either by those elected to represent the American people or by the highest court in the land. So, meaning that a district court in, let's just say, New York can't rule on something that would have an impact over all 50 states.
Yeah.
You know, that there's a jurisdiction in their own district, and that they can rule on the case in front of them, but they can't legislate from the bench.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of that where, like, the president's attempts to limit immigration were shut down.
What they called the quote-unquote Muslim ban, the ban on the 5 countries that that he tried to say, the travel ban.
Travel ban, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, this is an interesting issue. I'm surprised it took the White House so long to begin to push back on it in this way. And I'm actually also surprised that the court system doesn't have the ability to look at something like that and just immediately pull it up to the Supreme Court and say, knock that off, right?
Yeah, well, yes, and apparently there's not a mechanism for that. But what we've seen, in our federal government, there are things. Everything is wonky. Everything's out of whack. And I say this because that the people who are supposed to be legislating are only grandstanding and raising money.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, you look at the House of Representatives. What do? They grandstand and they raise money.
Yeah.
And the people. Then you have all of this law that's being created out of the executive branch and all of our administrative law, and I think that's not right.
Yeah.
And then you have the courts who, so the legislature will pass a crappy, ambiguous piece of legislation, and they just hoping that the courts will do their job for them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's bad. I think that's bad too. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. No, it's a mess. It's a mess. So, Erin,
Complete a thought? You sure?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time speaking today.
Apparently, it's Friday. Friday.
It is Friday. I wanted to bring it back to a local story real quickly, and I apologize it's not in the queue, but I know something you're already aware of. Did you see that social media post last week where they falsely said that the animal shelter was going to euthanize all the animals and be shut down, and you had to come get the animals?
Yes, in San Bernardino,
Yeah.
yes.
So it was a fake post, and the police department finally put out a comment saying that it was a fake post. Well, apparently that post went viral all around the state of California, and yesterday, hundreds of people, lines around the corner, showed up at the San Bernardino Animal Shelter with people to adopt these animals to try to save them. And so the Sun has an article about this, and they start off with the story of a guy, I say guy, maybe a woman, Taylor Elliott left Ventura at 11:30 p.m. Wednesday to get to San Bernardino by 1:30 a.m. Early Thursday, the 23-year-old was among the first dozen people in front of the city animal shelter hoping to adopt a new pet. By 11 a.m., she had her pup, Aubrey, an affectionate 18-month-old pit bull mix, spurred this week by social media posts that falsely claimed that the police department would euthanize all the animals at the San Bernardino facility. Elliott slept in her car to attend Thursday's free pet adoption event at the Chandler Place shelter, and she wasn't alone. Several hundreds turned out Thursday, hoping to adopt one of the 60 dogs and 40 cats from the shelter. By 3:30 p.m., all adoptable animals had found new homes.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah. And a friend of mine was telling me that several of the TV news stations were out there with their news vans reporting on this because there were so many people there. And of course, this is the upside to the fake news that went out, is that it actually spurred people to come and adopt all these animals. But we've been talking about how our local shelter is in dire need of help.
It is.
And this gives me a small little smile, a little bit of happiness that bit of false news got these people to come and get their animals.
So, and the city of San Bernardino now has the task in front of them of repairing the shelter. Since the county of Riverside rejected their desire to outsource, they now have to deal with the problem that's in front of them and fix the shelter and somehow find the money through investment, through partnership, through bonds or whatever. I don't like the idea of a bond, but through writing grants, doing something to find a humane way to manage all of these animals.
Yeah. Well, I keep trying to, I say it loudly, I'm whispering in people's ears. I think that we need a multi-jurisdictional effort. This is not just the city of San Bernardino problem. A lot of these other local cities were sending their animals to San Bernardino. I think the ones that, they all need to get together. All these local communities need to get together, pool their resources, and come up with a community, a broader county solution.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And so the leadership of several cities and the county need to sit down together.
Amen.
And so if you have Grand Terrace and Colton and Loma Linda and Redlands and San Bernardino and Rialto and all of these communities need to sit down and have a conversation. And
I'm not saying that the conversation will necessarily lead to the right solution, but it's going to be better than just one city on their own, particularly since it's the city of San Bernardino, which is frankly just struggling. I mean, they're still barely out of bankruptcy. They don't have the resources and the capacity, and if you look at their mayor and council, politically they're still kind of messy, And that's me being very polite.
That was being very polite.
Yeah, but it's a serious problem. People come together, solve it.
Yeah, for crying out loud, fix it. So with that, we're at the end of our show for today and for this week. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll see you on Monday.